Like most companies during this unprecedented time, Vicon has been operating remotely to attend to our customers' needs. The health and safety of our employees and customers are our number one priority. The process has been seamless as our employees work from home and conduct online meetings, product demos, and facilitate routine business activities. Let's get up close and personal with some of our team members and learn how they're being productive working from home.
Well, in these not so great times, I feel like Vicon has handled this really, really well, to be honest with you. I don't really feel like too many things too many things changed much at all. We really didn't skip a beat. We're as a regional sales manager, we're used to being able to work from home and so forth. So obviously we're not doing a lot of face-to-face meetings, but from what I can tell, I'm not up in New York where folks are sitting, but we moved the inside sales team into their home offices, and a lot of the folks are in their home offices. But from what I can tell, we absolutely have not skipped a beat. I would have to say that Vicon has handled it really well. I've been in some form a regional sales manager working from home for close to 10 to 12 years now, somewhere in between there. Staying productive at home, it can be difficult for a lot of people. You have a lot of folks that reach out to you and say, how do you do that? So really what I think is most important is that, you make sure that you take a little break here and there. And, there's no way you're going to be able to sit down at your desk and just work 8 hours straight through. You wouldn't do that in a corporate office as well. So just making sure that you take a little bit of time every few hours or once an hour to just get up from your desk, walk around a little bit, get a drink of water, kind of refocus. Because if you're just sitting there staring by yourself in an office all day long, it can be a little bit tedious. So just to take a little bit of time away to kind of regroup, recenter yourself, that I think is very important. Well, my daily routine actually just changed this morning because we were finally able to get the kids back to daycare. So what it was getting up in the morning, getting the kids up, getting them some breakfast, and kind of getting them situated the best we can. See, my wife and I both work from home, so that's really one of the difficulties that we have is, when it's just she and I, it's not an issue. I have my office, she has her office, and, we're able to do our own thing. But when the kids are there, it's really difficult for us to kind of figure out, all right, so you're going to have 9 through 11. You watch the kids for a little while. I walk around with my laptop. I'm able to sit down real quick at the kitchen table if I have to. But yeah, that's kind of one of the typical day was us getting the kids up, getting them fed, getting them situated the best we can, so my wife and I can get a little bit of work done, which is I think we managed pretty well, but it can be difficult at times. It's funny you say that because during this pandemic we realized that we needed a little bit of separation. So our house isn't real big, so my old office was in the loft. And we had a couple other bedrooms upstairs, and one of them was where my youngest son's crib was. So we made the decision, my wife and I made the decision to go ahead and move him out of his crib a little bit early and move him into a big boy bed into his brother's room. So now they're sharing a room, and this bedroom that I'm in now had enough room for us to go ahead and throw another desk in and a couple monitors and so forth. And as you can see from behind me, we're able to now have a closed door office that my wife and I can kind of go back and forth and share if we need to have a call like we're having right now and have a little bit of quiet. Although it is a little bit quiet now, a little bit more quiet now that the boys are back in daycare. But the home office, couple screens, laptop, desk, chair, nothing too fancy, but it works really well. That to me is a really good question. So I don't think it has changed a ton other than face-to-face. I'm really kind of a person that would prefer to be face-to-face with a customer. It's much easier to read the room. It's much easier to read your customer and so forth. I think it's obviously quite a bit more personal. So now what the big changes is obviously we're using, just like we're using now, we're using Zoom, we're using GoToMeeting, we're using Teams, whatever it may be. So learning those new technologies is something that was a little bit of a change. I wouldn't say a challenge, but a little bit of a change. So a majority of it is, phone calls and emails, reaching out to folks, trying to make sure that we let them know what is the the most up and coming, latest and greatest thing from Vicon, sparking some interest and making sure you strike while the iron's hot and get them on the phone or get a go-to meeting started. And pulling an engineer like Guy Rossi or some of the other folks we have, Pete Horn, I had a couple calls with him recently. Pulling those folks and make sure that, when you have the customer's attention, to make sure that you, do the best you can right away. Because, I know a lot of the customers are probably sitting home not doing as much as they may or may not do, but they've got a million other folks like me calling them. So if I can get their attention, I want to make sure that we take full advantage of that time with them. So that's one of the things that, it takes a little bit more time because, it takes a few extra steps here and there when you're working on getting meetings set up and so forth. So, here at Vicon, we have an inside sales team that's very, very important to us. So we're trying to utilize those folks as much as we possibly can to help set up the go-to meetings and the Zoom meetings or whatever it would be. So, the collaboration has been great. It's hard to complain about anything they've been doing. So I'm real happy to have those folks working on my side. Favorite part of working from home would probably be the flexibility. So having 2 young children, having to not wake them up, at 6 a.m. right on the dot and, and get them in the car and drive them over to daycare and so forth. If we need to let them sleep in a little bit, if they're sleeping in until 7, it's not the end of the world. So the flexibility, having a young family, it really helps us a lot, not having to rush the kids right out the door. So make sure we can sit down and get them some breakfast and so forth. We think it's important for them to, they're not great eaters, but we try to force food down them as much as we can. So so being able to get them to sit down in the morning, get some breakfast in the kiddos and get them out the door is important. So the flexibility is really important. So how I recharge each day is something that's going to sound kind of silly, but my wife and I do our best to try to, do some physical activity, whether it's working out or whatever it may be. We did this thing that started during the pandemic. Once we were at the stay-at-home order, that we started doing 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups a day because we can't go to the gym anymore. So it's just because the weather was so junky at the beginning of this whole thing. Here in Ohio, gosh, it went right from the heat on to 2 days later we had to turn the AC on. So, but the gyms have been closed, so we haven't been able to get up in the morning, try to get out and get to the gym if at all possible. So, doing as much as we can around the house, walking the dog, trying to get up early after we drop off the kids early enough so we can go on a bike ride. So recharge is something physical for me. I can't just sit around all day long and not do anything physical. So that's most important. Well, social distancing has been interesting. So we're lucky enough to have a couple neighbors here in the neighborhood that we've become very good friends with. They've got kids at similar ages and so forth. So you wouldn't really call it social distancing perfectly, but at the same time, we've kind of quarantined ourselves with those same folks. I think that if we didn't have them around, we probably would have lost our minds with the boys not being able to get some playtime outside and so forth. So it's been really important for us. So other than that, in terms of social distancing, when you go to Costco, you got to wear the mask and so forth. But, we talked about keeping active earlier. Bike rides, have been really important. We've got my wife and I both have a bike that we're able to hop on and so forth. So that's kind of what we do. I wish there was more to do. I wish I could get in the gym, but unfortunately, that's not something we can do at the moment.